Hi, I'm Nicole Kemper. I'm a writer, director, and editor living in Atlanta, Georgia. This is 50 Foot Woman, and I've committed to shooting at least one roll of motion picture film per month. Hi, so it's been a while since I have released a video. But I have been shooting film. So despite the fact that there's been a slight gap in video uploads, I've been continuing to shoot motion picture film. I've been continuing to practice my still photography. I've been developing film. And so it's not that I wasn't making videos because I lost my interest in motion picture film or still photography. It's just I just got busy, you guys. There were some changes that happened in my life, and so I just, things happened, life stuff. Also, I was really focused at the end of last year in creating my first ever stop motion paper cutout animation on 16 millimeter, which I did for the Kodak 100 feet of film competition. So look out for an upcoming video all about that. But as any of you know who have done any kind of animation or stop motion, it takes a lot of time. So I wanted to be making more YouTube videos, and I wanted to be sharing my process with you guys, but I was just spending so much time cutting out tiny pieces of paper. I'm really happy with the way that it turned out. Certainly a lot of things that I learned that I'd like to do differently next time, but I'm looking forward to doing another stop motion project soon, but maybe balancing my time a little bit so I can continue making these videos while also doing the stop motion animation. In today's video, I wanted to introduce you to the Criterion A12 Deluxe, which is a 16 millimeter camera that takes daylight spools. It's a very affordable camera if you're looking to get into 16 millimeter filmmaking. The Keystone A12 was released in 1949 by the Keystone Camera Company. The Keystone Camera Company made a lot of different models very similar to this. So this deluxe version, I think, means that what's deluxe about it is that it takes single per film. The older models only took double per film, but of course any 16 millimeter camera, as far as I know, that takes single per film can also take double per film. So that makes this a very versatile camera. You can use either one in it. The Keystone Camera Company was established in 1919 in Boston, Massachusetts. They were sold in the 1960s and then again in the 1970s, but they continued to make still and motion picture cameras until 1991 when they filed for bankruptcy. So let's take a look at the Keystone A12 Criterion Deluxe. It is a spring wound camera, so in order to get the motor to run, you just wind it up here. The spring wound part is not bad in terms of how hard it is to wind. There are some 16 millimeter cameras that I've tried out where it takes quite a bit of strength to actually wind that motor. This is not one of those. So I'm gonna mention a couple of times why I think this is a good beginner 16 millimeter camera. One of the reasons is how it's relatively easy to wind. You can also see that it's relatively compact and lightweight for a 16 millimeter camera. It's actually very easy to hand hold. So you can really just throw it into a bag and take it with you. There are some other cameras like the Bolex or even the Bell & Howell Filmo that I have that's a 16 millimeter camera. Those are a bit bigger, a bit bulkier, a little heavier. This one is for a 16 millimeter camera, pretty lightweight. So pretty good, I would say, for a beginner. So we've got our spring wound motor. We've got the speeds over here. So for this particular model, the Deluxe, you can do 64 frames per second, 24 frames per second, 16 frames per second, and 10 frames per second. So, and they've even kind of got them labeled here where it says 64 slow motion, 10 frames per second, low speed, although that would kind of create a more like kind of sped up looking image. Normal speed for these cameras is 16 frames per second, and that's what I usually run it in. 24 frames per second, it says sound. So certainly you could attempt some kind of sync sound with this. These cameras are not designed really for sync sound, but certainly you could try to fudge something. They're not the loudest 16 millimeter camera I've ever used. They're not super quiet, but if you were far enough away with the mic, you might be able to make it work. There are some like kind of in between speeds that you can use between basically 24 and 64. We've got footage counter here. Moving on to the front of the camera, this is where you would run the camera, and you can hear it, especially if I put it up kind of next to my mic. You can hear that kind of like bong. There's like a metallic kind of sound that runs while you're running the camera. At first, I was worried that maybe there was something wrong with my camera, but then later I discovered that that's actually supposed to happen. It kind of makes that sound every time you run another foot. So it's just a sound kind of letting you know that you've ran another foot, which again is a noise that the camera makes that may not be ideal for sync sound. So you've got a 2-lens turret here. So you can put up to two lenses on here. Right now I've just got the lens that came with it. They are C-mount lenses, so you can if you have other 16 millimeter cameras like the Bolex or the Bell & Howell camera that I have, you can swap out those C-mount lenses amongst each other. So this one that I have here is the Wollensak Keystone. This is a 1-inch lens, f2.5. So pretty sort of standard size lens, pretty all-purpose lens for just kind of throwing in your bag and shooting some stuff. It is not a reflex camera, so what you're seeing through the viewfinder is not what you're seeing in camera. You're actually seeing it through this little area here. So when you are looking through the camera, depending on what lens you have on, so you can see, and here's how you switch that turret. So if I had a wide angle lens, so this is a 1-inch, and along the side it says right next to this 1-inch lens, 1, 2, or 3-inch. So this is where it kind of expects you to use a 1, 2, or 3-inch lens, and inside the viewfinder there's like a little overlay that kind of shows you what the approximate framing would be depending on the lens. The second turret here is for 1-inch or 17 millimeter. So this is going to be your 1-inch or your wide angle lens. If you want the 17 millimeter, I believe, let's see, I think this is down. So when you have it up like this, you are looking at the 1-inch, and then when you pull this kind of cover a lens adapter, I guess, in front of it, that's going to give you your wide angle. So you kind of want to adjust that based on what type of lens you've got on there. So you could throw 2 lenses on there. You could throw a wide angle. You could have your 1-inch lens, and you're kind of good to go. It is like most 16 millimeter cameras, manual. So you have to set the exposure and the focal length. Not too much else. It's very simple. There is a thread here at the bottom, standard tripod thread if you want to put a tripod on there. You've got your eyepiece here in the back where you can see, and then of course here is where you put the film in. So we turn this, we pull it off, and this is where we run the film. I'm going to do a separate video about loading the camera, but it's not super difficult. Like many other 16 millimeter cameras, it does take daylight spools. Obviously, this is an extremely expired roll of Kodachrome 25, which I use as a dummy roll for practicing loading. So you wouldn't, I wouldn't be using this, but you can get your double perf or single perf film on daylight spools. Whoop, and put that in. So again, really good for I think beginners that are maybe looking to get into 16mm film, but maybe you're intimidated. Maybe you're starting on Super 8 and you're a little intimidated by all the stuff that you have to do with 16. I think that this is a real kind of pared down, simplistic version of it, and pretty easy to load. This little bit here, when that gets moved around when you're changing your film, that's what kind of triggers. Woo! Gotta twist that so it stays on. That's what kind of triggers that that footage counter to go back to 0. Okay, so it does take those 100-foot daylight spools. I don't believe there's any world in which we can attach a 400-foot reel to this, so you're pretty much going to be sticking with those 100-foot daylight spools. Last thing on here is just like one of those little dials that you could, previous times, you might have used to kind of decide, you know, okay, what's my, based on how sunny it is and what my film speed is, or actually they've got camera speed listed on here, what f-stop would I use? But because our film is very different than what they would have used in the 1950s, generally speaking, much lower ISOs, much less light sensitivity, and generally speaking, now we're shooting much higher ISOs, so 100, 200, 500, those are not really going to be accurate for these little dials, so you can just enjoy that as a relic of history. Certainly use a light meter. I actually just use, I have a light meter. I have one of these guys, one of these Sakonic light meters. These are wonderful. But most of the time when I'm out and about, I just use my phone. There is there are many light meter apps that you can get for your phone, and I find those to be pretty accurate, so that's what I use. So there you go. That's a little introduction to the Keystone A12 Criterion Deluxe as far as what the features are, and I'm going to do like a short video about loading the camera, so look out for that. So let's take a look at some sample footage from the Keystone A12 Criterion Deluxe camera. This is, so I said earlier that typically nowadays that we're shooting film with a much higher ISO, so much greater light sensitivity. But thanks to really cool groups like the Film Photography Project, we actually have like an incredibly wide variety of films to shoot. And they sent me a roll of their FPP Sun, which is a very low ISO. It's an ISO of 1, so extremely low light sensitivity, but with low light sensitivity you typically get less grain, so just another different look if you're wanting to try out a different type of 16mm film. So I got this from FPP. They sent it to me to test out, and so because it was because it's such a low ISO film, I kind of ended up shooting it throughout the summer. So I would kind of pull out my Keystone camera whenever it was a bright sunny day, and so I kind of got like a broad kind of all summer look. I got a couple of different lighting situations, and I really kind of pushed the footage to see where it can go. So let's take a look at the FPP Sun shot on the Keystone A12 Criterion Deluxe. Okay, so the first thing that I shot was at the pool. I want to say it was around this time of year, so it was around Memorial Day. It was a little cloudy, still not quite summer temps. So this was, the pool had just opened. So at least in Atlanta, the pool kind of opens on Memorial Day. Right away you can see that the FPP Sun has like a slightly different look in terms of the color. Like I said, low ISO, very low grain, extremely minimal grain. You almost can't see any grain at all, really. And the colors, I would say, are more like, they're not, maybe subdued, maybe a little less saturated. I've heard people refer to this film as kind of having kind of a almost a semi-expired film look. So you can see like the greens have a very particular look to them, but the color isn't lacking. Like the blues in the pool are still really present. And here you can see a shot of the sky where we've got like somewhat subdued. Now this, what I shot, this was inside. I was actually not sure if it was going to come out at all, but we were sitting, my husband and I were sitting in a restaurant, and it was very bright in the restaurant. And I was like, let's just try it. And I was surprised to see that, in fact, inside with this bright light coming in through the window, even at ISO 1, don't be afraid of that ISO 1. I was able to get something. So this was my husband and I. Fast forward a little bit, we're at like a outdoor festival in Brazelton, Georgia. And again, you can kind of see how there's this like a little bit of a muting of the color, like the color's present, but to me, I feel like it's a bit muted. Now, I have not done any color grading on this, but at the same time, like maybe it's like a tone thing. Like right there, you can see the flowers are very bright. It's almost got a little bit this like gray blue kind of a vibe to it. But it's not a color cast so much, because I can see like in a lot of these shots, the whites are still white. It's just a different look. And I think the nice thing about having these groups like Film Photography Project that put out all these different films is that you got your Kodak look, right? So when you want the Kodak look, you go for the Kodak look. If you want something different, you can give something like FPP Sun a try. And I think that it's got a real fun look to it. And it does have like a real nice, clear kind of low grain kind of feel to it. And there are a couple of shots, this is on me, that are just a little bit out of focus. And I think it was just me not quite gauging the distance of my subject, or not quite setting focus correctly. All right, so this last bit of stuff, this was at the very end of the summer, so extremely bright day, like so bright. So another thing that I'll say is that I'm shooting broad daylight on a boat in Tybee Island, and I'm not using an ND filter. So FPPC Sun is also a good choice if you know you're going to the beach, or you're going to be somewhere where it's extremely bright, and you want to, maybe you want to have your aperture a little bit more open. Maybe you want a little bit more depth of field. So you can see we're getting some nice depth of field here, and some really nice shots on the boat. But I'm not getting, like, we're not getting any blown out highlights whatsoever, because we've got this low light sensitivity film that is really able to handle the extremely bright light when you're at the beach, and it's not getting blown out. So I think FPP Sun is a really fun film. So give it a try. It's going to give you a bit of a different look, and it's going to be, it's not going to be ideal probably for interior light unless you're really throwing a whole lot of light at your subject. But for exterior, although, like, I mean, you know, there was that one shot, which was literally just my husband. The color, I think the skin tones were not great in that interior shot, but it was really just me trying to see, like, hey, am I going to get anything at all? And I was like wide open. Anyway, definitely great for outdoors. So I don't know, maybe if you're going skiing and it's extremely sunny out, or going to the beach. And so if you're looking for like something different, a different look from Kodak, I think that FPP Sun could be a really good choice for shooting your film this summer. And that's the Keystone A12 Criterion Deluxe, a lightweight, very simple 16mm camera that is extremely affordable. If you go on eBay, there's, in addition to the Criterion Deluxe, there's other models that you can try. Like I said, my understanding is that the Deluxe, the one is Deluxe, takes single per films. If you're going with one of the older Keystone 16mm camera models, you may just need to plan for purchasing some double per film, which you can also get at Film Photography Project online at filmphotographystore.com, I believe. So if you're wanting to start out with 16mm film, or maybe you've already got a couple 16mm cameras and you just want to have like another one in your bag of tricks, this one I think is a really great vacation camera. Love my Bolex. but I don't really want to take it to the beach, right? Whereas the Keystone, you know, it's kind of hardy and it's easy to put in a bag, and I'm a little more likely to take that with me to the beach. But you can get those C-mount lenses, which you can use them on the Keystone, you can use them on the Bolex, you can use them on any of the Bell & Howell 16mm cameras. So you can really just have like your lens kit, and then you can kind of swap them out in between the cameras. So I think that's a really efficient way to build out your collection. Thanks for watching this video. One of the things that I've really been touched by is that even though it's been some time since I've put out a new video, people have been continuing to subscribe to the channel. So if you're new here, welcome. I've made a filming schedule, and filming schedule, it means commitment to continuing to film videos. So thank you for coming and joining me here. More videos on the way. On this channel, you can expect conversation about 16mm film and film cameras, 8mm film and film cameras, Super 8 film and film cameras, motion picture filmmaking, indie filmmaking. I'm going to be getting into more film developing, projectors, some editors and film viewers and things like that. So all kinds of stuff that we're going to be getting into here on the channel. Those of you that subscribed when I was putting out content a little more regularly, I hope you're still here with me. Thank you for subscribing, and good to be back. One of the things that I really like about making these videos is it's created this opportunity for me to connect with other people who are also excited about using motion picture film and creating independent film and telling stories through motion picture film. So excited to be here. If you liked this video, I hope, and you're not subscribed, I hope that you will subscribe and stick around, hang out with us. If you liked this video, maybe give it a like, and maybe that'll help other people find it. But either way, I'm just glad you're here, and feel free to start a conversation below about 16mm film or motion picture filmmaking. Summer is the perfect time to shoot. The days are long. There's lots of natural light, so get out there. Grab your 16mm camera, maybe grab a spool of a film that you haven't tried before, and let's shoot more film, you guys.